Faze Clan, Brokey, Faze Clan, Kerrigan, Cologne, IEM, Faze Clan, Brokey, IEM. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really know what happened to him, guys. I think something broke. I'm pretty sure he's just going to be like that throughout the rest of the intro. Anyways, IEM Cologne has started. I want to talk about Faze Clan because they made it through stage 2 in a surprisingly not painful way. I want to focus on Brokey specifically, as he's pretty much the biggest news surrounding the team right now. So let's go ahead and talk about it. If you guys enjoy this kind of IEM Cologne coverage, don't worry, the normal recaps will be coming out. We'll be covering the rest of stage 1 once it finishes up tomorrow. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe for all that good stuff coming soon, and help me at 10k subs by the end of the year. And lastly, before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Skins Monkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip. Nice. You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. And another thing as we get started, apologies if you hear my fan in the background. It's approximately 4.2 million degrees in my office and I'm sweating. But we're going to plug on through and keep the content going. So, Faze popped up to IEM Cologne Stage 1, they bowed their way through, they won both their games and advanced to Stage 2, I don't know why I'm rhyming. And on the other side of it, as a noted Faze critic as of late, I thought they looked pretty good. Brokey especially, I think impressed in both games in different ways against both Big and Team Liquid. Overall, I think Faze looked a lot more solid than I would have expected. Their team synergy especially looked a lot better, and there were some key positional changes that really seemed to bear immediate fruit. In their opening match against Big, they took care of business relatively quickly, beating Big in 2-0 fashion. There was not so much of what you'd expect from Faze Clan in a typical group stage game, where they make every game as long and as painful as humanly possible. No, they beat Big 13-7 on Inferno, very nice, and then wrapped it up on Ancient even better, 13-9, but they did concede a little bit of a comeback to Big on the second half. And keep in mind, they kept Big to sub-double digits on both maps, despite not winning a single pistol round on either map, which is really impressive. Along the way, Frozen and Rain did a lot of great work top fragging after the end of the series, but they looked especially good on Inferno where both players got above 20 kills, with Rain really taking over on the A-side defense in the first half, where Frozen came alive in the second half, having a 14-4 T-side to close out the game. I was fully expecting some first match jitters out of Brokey, and while he definitely looked a little shaky with his rifles, overall he had very solid decision making, and probably most importantly, he didn't feel overly passive. Now, digging a little deeper, he did not reach as many opening kills as I would have liked, especially across both games. I still really think he's averaging too low of an opening percentage, as over the course of these two series, he's around 11% in terms of opening attempts on both sides, and that's just very low for even some of the most passive operators in the world. I don't think he needs to jump up and try and average like 18% plus or some shit, because at the end of the day, Faze does split a lot of the openings between Bubblesj, Rain, and Kerrigan. He doesn't need to become an entry fragger by any means, but I do think Kerrigan should be trying to put him in more positions, especially with the op on T side, where he is going for entries, and thus far that hasn't really materialized. So if Rain and Kerrigan have poorer games, I think you're going to end up in a position a lot of times where Faze was kind of at their worst with Brokey in the lineup earlier this year, where they ended up too passive, while Bubblesj had to do too many heroics to make up for that. It didn't come to fruition here, but it could definitely be a concern against better opposition. Overall, Brokey had a quiet but effective 12-14 game on Inferno, and then the second game against Big, he was much better. He ends up top fragging going 17-10, and while again, definitely very passive, at least for my liking, I do have to give Brokey a lot of credit. He's still finding a good balance, at least in these two series, of throwing a lot of nades to set up his teammates, and then doing good work to close out rounds. There are plenty of examples here on both the CT and T side on Ancient where he would come down into these low man situations and help finish out rounds very strongly after Rain, Bubblesj, Kerrigan, whoever else open up the space for him to do so. He was very good at finishing out rounds, and that's a huge vote of confidence as Brokey tries to rev back up into form heading into the other stages of Cologne. And again, considering that this was Brokey's first official back after being benched, I think Brokey bounced back in a very nice way. Big is by no means a super threatening team to Faze Clan, or at least they shouldn't be, but a player like Crimbo is dangerous, and Faze managed to keep him in check enough to close out the game very cleanly. I tweeted out my thoughts at the time, I'll put that on screen now, but it's more or less what I've parroted so far in the video. I think this was a perfect start for Faze, it wasn't an insane stomp, but they overall played very cleanly, which is what I wanted. Going into today, however, they had to play their advancement game against Team Liquid, who of course, if you've been following the channel, have had their own issues coming into this event. And this was a much more impactful performance from Brokey on all fronts. We walk away from this series with Brokey being one of the best players in the server, walking away with the most total kills and some of the fewest deaths, and overall being the best player for Faze on both Mirage and Inferno. Now Nuke, he pretty much didn't have to do anything. He walks away going 9-8, but Bubblesj figured out how to go Super Saiyan with no hair and was deleting Team Liquid en route to a 13-2 stomp. So Brokey was not necessary. But on Mirage, best player in the server, goes 20-7, most kills, less deaths. On Inferno, even though they dropped that map, he went 20-13, best player on Faze Clan, and only really outdone by Ultimate having a masterclass performance in his own right. What was really nice was just the immediate impact. He opens up the series with a great triple kill in the pistol round. He rides that momentum through a very clean CT half from Faze. He's getting good multi-kills, he's having good rotations, he's throwing good nades. Overall, this is just a fantastic performance out of Brokey considering the circumstances. And he did really well in the op head-to-head. While Ultimate walks away beating Brokey straight up 11 kills to Brokey's 8, Brokey beat every other Liquid player in the head-to-head as shown on screen, and especially owned both NAF and NERTZ, going 12-6 against NAF and 13-3 against NERTZ respectively. Overall, that's damn solid, especially when you compare it to Ultimate, who while he did beat Brokey, failed to really beat anyone else on Faze, at least by significant margins. So yeah, overall, I'm walking away from this pretty skeptically optimistic. Obviously, again, big and Liquid, these are not heavy hitters, these are not title contending teams. How is Brokey going to hold up against the likes of Spirit, Mouse, Falcons, Vitality? That remains to be seen. Hell, you even got to throw teams like the Mongols, Astralis back into the mix, because Astralis have been owning Faze recently. So there's still a lot left for Faze to prove, but as a first step forward, they didn't fall flat on their face, and I think that deserves credit. Like, obviously, I am known at this point for making quite a few videos dedicated to Brokey's issues, but I have to restate this. I love Faze, I want this team to succeed, and I want Brokey to be good again. That's why I focus so much on the issues that I can see from the outside looking in, and honestly, I think the vibe around Faze looks a lot better, and hell, don't even take my word for it, Bubblesj gave a great interview after beating Liquid that I think reaffirmed it. Over on HLTV, I'll go ahead and put the quote on screen. Thank you to Striker for doing these interviews, they're fantastic as always. Striker's question was, I was talking to Kerrigan yesterday about the fire and hunger that there is now that Brokey is back, and it looks like from the outside that the atmosphere is better versus the last time Brokey was in the lineup. Is it like that from the team as well? Bubblesj replied, I think that towards the end, when we were playing with Brokey, we were at our wits' end. After Melbourne, the guys just couldn't really get back into it and reset as a team from how we feel about our hope. We had our stint with Sasha, and you got to see what our strengths are, what we're missing that we don't have from Brokey anymore, and we come back into the season and know what we have to work on. There's still always going to be so much stuff to fix, you just kind of have to take your time and try to diagnose what the most important thing to work on is at this moment. Now that we have our belief back, I think we can start showing way better games. We already made it to the next stage in Cologne, so far, so good. And I think that last part, the idea that they have their belief back, is something that gives me a relative amount of hope. And I hope that even if Faze don't just go on and win Cologne, which obviously isn't likely, they exit playing quality Counter-Strike, because the best way I can describe their efforts so far in Stage 1 was they played clean, high-quality Counter-Strike, and it bore really great results. And obviously, the best thing to come out of this, fuck everything else, is the fact they gave Rain outside back on Nuke. Let's go! It's been too long. Bubblesj took that spot when he really shouldn't have. Rain is the god of outside on Nuke. They gave it back, and they instantly ran Liquid over 13-2. Faze are now back to being the best Nuke team in the world. You heard it here first. Anyways, I just want to dedicate some specific thoughts to Faze Clan separate from the recap that's going to come out tomorrow. One, because it saves me some time tomorrow. That's called efficiency. And two, I want it to be kind of a standalone thing, because we've been following this Faze Clan saga with will they get simple, won't they, Brokey coming back relatively closely, and now we have some data to look at. I want to kind of take a closer look. If you guys enjoy these kinds of more specific recaps, I might consider doing them more during these group stage environments. If you're new here, I used to cover all of the group stage games day by day, but that was quickly becoming too much of a workload for me as just a single person to go in and do all the demo work. It was creating some very long days and very long weeks and very long months, but I've just kind of taken a step back from that. I'm now kind of collecting all the group stage into one bigger recap that's a little less intensive, a little less specific, and then doing daily stuff for the bigger moments throughout the playoffs. So stage 1 will get its own video. Stage 2 will most likely get its own video as well, and then the playoffs for Cologne will be every single day as per normal. If you guys enjoy that kind of content, you can show me by leaving a like, leaving a comment down below, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Also, the immensely YouTube algorithm, help me hit 10K subs by the end of the year. Thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. Check the top link in the description. You got a trail on their website. It lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to Skins Monkey. Thank you to my channel members: Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, Vegt, I'm Flashbanks, Know Me White, Rowdy, Vergil'sPlasticChair, LBKcs, Snax Enjoyer, Crunchy Water, and zerotwocs. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so. Link down below for $5 a month. You can name the video just like this. We also got some on our community Discord. Follow me on Twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. We're doing 10 mans in our community Discord tonight. Make sure you come by and hang out. I'll see you guys soon in another video. Peace.